learning forum. In that learning forum, we will be learning a lot of new things. In the previous session also, we learned a new things on Robert cycle. So that was been explained by Dr. B. Gavin, sir. In the same manner, the next important topic for our consideration is publication, because nowadays publication plays a very vital role. If you go for any recruitment or interview for all the purpose, they are asking whether you have been published in which index journal. Either it may be a Scopus journal, or it may be some reputed journals, or UTC Care 1 or UTC Care 2, which are very much important for the academician nowadays, because it is a mandatory. Even the UGC has clearly said, sir, this is a mandatory for each and every process. We have to do at least a Scopus or in the UTC Care publication. It's a must. And if you are doing any research activities, for example, like PhD or any type of work, this publication plays a very vital role. So those who are doing PhD also, this publications that helps you how to where to go for publication, how to approach, how to what are the processes are there in the publication and all. It's very much important. So in order to educate on that basis, today we have Professor Dr. Rajveer S. Alvin, sir. He is assistant professor from RIMS. So I just introduce him. So Rajveer S. Alvin is received his PhD from Bharatiya University, Tamil Nadu, India, and his MBA in finance from the Cardiff Metropolitan University, Wales, UK. He teaches in the Department of Management Studies at Ramia Institute of Management. His research interest includes the area of capital market, investment analysis, and portfolio management, and has more than 25 years of experience in the above, covering the US and Indian markets. He is the author of the popular blog Ahead of the Curve. He has authored 16 articles and 5 books and reviews from Emerald and as well as Sage publications. With this brief introduction, before going to the session, I may request our director, sir, to say some few words and inaugurate the session. Thank you, sir. That's
Good afternoon, all of you. I've had the pleasure of working with Dr. Rajveer Rowlin. And as far as his blogs are concerned, he's got more than 1 lakh followers. He's also the top 5, if I'm not wrong, Scrabble player of India. So he figures in the top 5 Scrabble players in India. In fact, one of his innovations in the course was trying to teach students using crossword Scrabble as a tool for making students learn new concepts, new ideas, new words. Okay. And he's also a very avid IT person, right? In fact, I've had the pleasure of listening to a similar session by Dr. Rajveer when I was working with him as a colleague. For those of you, digital footprint for any of us is inevitable. If you have just visited the website using your any credential, maybe your system, which means an IP address gets registered along with the location where the IP address is located, or your user ID password, your name, mobile number. There's a lot of digital footprint that's out there. And when we publish papers, even though we may not have proactively put the information in the public domain, the person to whom we have submitted the records may take the initiative and publish. But then we are very often not aware of our own work being looked at or being recognized or being sought by different people, which is a very gray area. And in accreditation processes these days, citation index, which many of you do know is a very important criterion for publications. Similarly, how many people viewed your articles or downloaded your articles? These are data which is very often not available. Not available meaning we never consciously go search for these. Right? These footprints and bookmarks definitely help bring a greater recognition to each one of us individually and collectively to the institution. It's very nice that Dr. Rajveer has agreed to share his insights and his experience in this domain. Rajveer sir, welcome Welcome to this
Thank you,
session.
sir.
Right now, we have all the faculty members here. We are a very small group. And maybe after another 10, 15 minutes, some of the students would also be joining us,
Sure, sir.
right? And I'm sure we will all be looking forward to a wonderful session, a great learning session from you. Welcome, sir. Welcome to Maths Institute of Management and Entrepreneurship.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Manikandan sir, thank you for requesting sir to come and share his time and insights with us. Right. Over to you, sir. Rajiv sir.
Thank you so much, sir. First and foremost, I want to thank you. I think you were on my case when you were in Ramaya to do something like this for a long time. So it has taken quite a while, but it has come to pass now. So I thank you for the opportunity to do this. And I will share my screen now. So what I want to do is, those of you who have computers, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So those of you who have computers, please bookmark these links I'm going to share, and you can save them for later. So because I think if you go to the links and create a presence, that would actually help you out quite a bit. So let me share my screen now. Okay. So
permission may have to be okay, done.
Okay. Is my screen visible, please? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So what I thought we would do is we would walk basically through different avenues which are essential for you to propagate your research. But before that, I also want to share a basic format of a research paper. Recently, I've done quite a few of reviews for quartile 2 Scopus journals that have been listed in Emerald and Stage. And so my input from the whole process, I would like to summarize quickly before I get into all of this. So is that fine? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now research paper. What is a good research paper? What would qualify as a good research paper? So this, I will not dwell much time on this because most of you are already writing articles, I'm sure. But something that is good will have a plagiarism content less than 20%. Yes. This is the requirement from, if you want to look at Emerald, Sage, Inderscience, Elsevier, this is on an average the requirement. You will have a word count of anywhere from 3,500 to 4,400 words. You will submit an abstract initially of 175 to 250 words. Of course, this varies from publication to publication, but general. Okay, so then what do? You write an introduction with 1 to 1.5 pages. You write a literature review that covers at least 25 articles in your area of research with 5 to 10 from the most current year. Scopus quartile 2 or higher is what you should target. So one of my experiences is my papers sometimes analytically are good, but they get rejected because the literature review is not one current. Number two, it doesn't show a very prospective research gap, meaning I have not reviewed the top journals in my domain. So the more top journals you include, the better is your prospect of putting together a nice little paper demonstrating the research gap adequately. So once you identify the research gap, you must create objectives based on that. Then you summarize your methodology, your results. Then you discuss in relation to earlier published research. Your discussion should also have citations of articles from your literature review, where you basically tell what your work is in relation to the earlier observed results in your field. Then you have conclusion and references, typically in APA style. Okay, so this is the basic research paper that is required for you to submit. Okay, now, when you talk about propagating, what is the first few things you need to do? The first few things you require, the first thing is an ORCID ID. Please, if you click on ORCID ID is mandatory. What does an ORCID ID do? It creates a very verifiable research profile. Most top Scopus journals pretty much want you to have an ORCID profile. So I'll show you mine. So this is what you can do with your ORCID profile. you can link your blog, you can link your citations, you can.
Sir, we can't able to see that screen, sir. Only we can see that propagate your research.
Oh, is it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, only your presentation is coming.
Okay, now I'll reshare then.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. Thank you for pointing that out. Can you see now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is my ORCID ID. And as you can see, I have linked my blog, my citations, my qualifications, all of them are coming in this ORCID ID. So the ORCID ID, if you go to orcid.org, and if you sign up there, you will get an ORCID ID. ORCID is very, very, very important for propagation of research. As I told you, many top journals are basically linking your profile to your creating a profile for you on their databases by simply linking to your ORCID profile. Okay. All right. So that is the first thing. So you could do that. Now, next, I'm switching back to my screen. Are you able to see that?
No, sir. No, no, sir.
Okay. Let's see now. Okay. Is that fine?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So ORCID, everybody's clear on ORCID? What ORCID is? Yes?
Yes.
So ORCID is just a research ID, but it is widely tracked by many journals. So it's the first thing you need to create as a researcher to get your visibility out. Next one is very similar and has reach. And in fact, your basic citation record is created on Google Scholar. This is also mandatory. So if you are a researcher of your beginning, best thing to do is create a Google Scholar profile, right? What does Google Scholar do? It searches for all articles, yes, and essentially it creates, once again, a citation record. Okay, so I will go ahead and show you my Google Scholar profile in a moment.
Rajvi sir, all this profile we can go just we can like a Gmail like that we can create an ID, we can log in. That's it.
Yes.
You have to pay some money for that and also.
No. There's no money here. For
Okay.
Google Scholar, you need an institutional email ID. You can't use your personal email ID.
Okay. Okay.
So your Google Scholar will look something like this.
Okay.
I'll show you. Switching. Okay. Should be shareable now. All right. There you go. So you will have a Google Scholar link like this. And when you join Google Scholar, what it's going to do is it's going to ask you some basic information. It's going to ask you for your college's email ID, and then you have to verify it. And then what happens is it creates a citation record for you like this, which you see on the screen. And it creates something called H index and I index. So these are based on your citation. So citation, how good is your H index? If your H index is very high, then you are a well-cited researcher, right? So for those of us starting out, it will be low. And as we publish, I am yet to publish in Scopus, though it's been 11 years since I started publishing. Only slowly I'm getting into Scopus. So my Scopus takes a lot of time to review and publish. I hope all of you saw the latest Scopus update. They have removed pretty much every single paid journal from the list that just came out this November. So Scopus is very tough to do, but it happens over time, right? So once you demonstrated a citation record and stuff, you can see Scopus. So H index, I index are verifiable citation metrics. The more the H and I indexes are, better you are evolving as a researcher, and it happens over time. Yes. So, so this is how your Google Scholar account looks like. Okay. Is that clear? Any questions you have on Google Scholar? Once you create a Google Scholar account, it's going to ask, you have to be a little careful, because what Google Scholar will do is it will pick up authors who are similar to your name also. So you have to manually verify whether those publications are yours and exclude publications. So if it is Manigandan, for example, that Manigandan is a common name, right? So it is going to show you all articles from different Manigandans. So you have to filter the ones that are yours. Okay. So that is about Google Scholar. Okay. Next, I'll go back and share something else, which is very important. The next one is something called SSRN. Okay. So SSRN is owned by Elsevier. So this is very good for publishing working papers. So let's say you're working on something, but you've not quite. So I suggest in SSRN, you should not upload your full paper, because it can easily be copied by somebody. So what you can do is you can upload an abstract of a paper you're working on. So immediately it will link to Google Scholar, and within 1 or 2 weeks, it will be available in thing. So sometimes Google Scholar won't capture all journals, because journals are not indexed, right? You may have a journal which is in hard copy only. So what can you do to get it into Google Scholar? Just create that journal article, put an abstract, and if you don't have a digital version, put an abstract and say, this is the paper you have done in SSRN. It will automatically link to Google Scholar. Yes. And you can verify citations after that. Yes. So back in so earlier times, back before 2015, you would all be familiar that most of the journals were printed only in hard copy mode, right? So there are the electronic distribution exists only of the premier journals, like those indexed in the Scopus databases. But what about other regular journals, like published in conferences in India, something that you have, but you have not told your online presence, you've not brought forth your online presence. So you can create an abstract on SSRN, and it will come into Google Scholar. So that's a very easy way out. Okay. Next is Academia.edu. Okay. So this one is very interesting. So it picks up your work on different platforms. Yes. You recently they have started a service where you can actually submit articles to them. Short, they want very short articles, 2 to 3 pages, that cannot be published in big journals, right? So they are asking you to publish. Yes, I recently reviewed 2 or 3 articles from them, and requirements are less than this. Of course, indexation is only Google Scholar, but still, you know, you can testify to how much of work you have left unpublished, because you realize, right, your work cannot go into Scopus. So you just stop and keep quiet, right? Many of us have done that. Yeah. So you can instead write a smaller article and send it to Academia.edu, and that will link to Google Scholar as a publication. Yes. So remember, track record doesn't happen right away, right? All of us aren't born with a Scopus touch, right? You can't send articles to Scopus and start publishing in Scopus from day one. It is, like I told you, it has taken me 11 years. Only now I am getting there, right? I think this year will be a fruitful year in terms of Scopus publication for me, because a few have been in review for more than 6-7 months. But it has taken that long, and it's not by chance that those things happen, right? Yeah. Okay, so Academia.edu done. ResearchGate is the next one. So ResearchGate, if you share your articles on ResearchGate, again, like SSRN, you can share your articles on ResearchGate. On top of this, some articles which you otherwise have to pay and get, you can directly ask the researchers and they'll share it for you. You can collaborate with researchers worldwide, and you can compare your metrics in relation to metrics of all the other top researchers around the world. on ResearchGate. So it's a very nice platform. And of course, they have their own citation metric, and their publications that you share there automatically go into Google Scholar as well. So another forum of propagating your research where you can share stuff onto your Google Scholar via ResearchGate. Okay, ResearchGate is pretty awesome. I know some you can get a following. So you are given a score of some kind based on how you answer other researchers' questions, etc., and all that. Right. So ResearchGate is another very, very useful platform to share your work. Okay.
Now, suppose if I share one article in SSRN, okay,
Yeah,
that is linked with Google Scholar.
yeah,
Suppose the same article, can I share it with Academia.edu or ResearchGate?
yeah, sir. No issues.
That thing, that controversy things like that.
Yeah, yeah. So no issues. You can share it on multiple platforms. Usually Google Scholar will pick the first one you share, right? So whichever, but sometimes it may create a duplicate citation. It may create two. In that case, you have to just delete one of them. In case it does, sometimes it can, right? For the most part, it will not, but sometimes you may, when you upload it on SSRN, you may have given a different title, right? And you may have had multiple authors, but SSRN, you would have put only one author. Then it will create a double citation. You have to just delete it. Yeah. Any other questions on these platforms I've discussed so far? Actually, if you go and create an account, then you would actually see the benefits of these.
When we practically use it, we may get some doubts.
Yes. Yes. I mean, as you use the platforms and you create a record, then you will get more doubts, and then you can feel free to channel those doubts through Manikandan sir, and I can answer them anytime.
When we start with Scholar, so they come with the percentage, and I have just made my knowledge free. They start showing me the citation, but I'm not able to create my account. Do they link my account with the Gmail ID, or we have to create a new account for it?
Ma'am, Google Scholar will not work with a Gmail ID. It only works with your college ID.
No,
You have to
give. But they have given me on my college ID. They recognize me. But like your profile is coming, it is not coming like that.
Oh, is it?
In all my citations and everything.
Okay, okay. It should come. You should add, maybe do one thing, ma'am. Since your Google Scholar account is already created, create an SSRN account, right? And add one or two papers in the SSRN profile and see if it will come on to your Google Scholar. It should, or you can manually add the articles as well. Have you tried adding articles? See, the Google Scholar engine sometimes may be frozen until you activate it, right? So when you go in there and when you actually activate the Google Scholar profile and you search for your articles and link them, sometimes you have to manually link them, right? So then you could see it. So you should not be having any issues with that. So, I mean, we can discuss offline also as to how we can go about doing that. So typically the articles should auto link. I mean, if they are not linking, see, you may have published in journals which are not online sometimes. In that case, you have to manually add the article. Right. So earlier publications, many of them were offline, right? So in those cases, Google Scholar is not going to pick them up. You have to add them either in SSRN or directly in Google Scholar itself, manually.
Sir, suppose if others want to view my article, actually we are seeing some of the Google Scholar. It shows that you have to get a permission from the concerned author, then only you can view the full article. Otherwise, only the abstract will be there. We can read the abstract. If you want to go further, you have to connect to a concerned person. So, like that, there is any lock procedure so that they can't copy your articles to others, that can be avoided?
Sir, actually, Google Scholar only uploads articles in PDF mode.
Okay.
So, if you have shared your article as a PDF online and it is on Google Scholar, anybody can access it. So sometimes authors only share abstract. So it depends on the author. The author can hide his articles from you, right? So if he just chooses to share only the abstract, then you can see only the abstract. But if you still want to get the full article, you have to go to ResearchGate. So you go to ResearchGate, pull the article from name, and in case he is there also, he has shared only abstract. You just send the author a message saying, I would like to have this article.
True, sir. That is what. Because we have gone through lots of things when we collect the literature review.
Yeah.
Literature review, we want a lot of things to be read.
But I suggest literature review you should do only in Scopus.
Scopus. Okay.
Yeah, because Google Scholar will give you a lot of open access stuff, which is not quartile 2 or quartile 3 type Scopus material. So the literature review is the defining element in your paper. So it should contain more stuff from quartile 2 or quartile 3. So I think that will help you with your paper progression. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions I should answer at this point?
Okay, sir. Go ahead.
Okay.
Students have any doubts? Yeah, because they joined. That's what it's joined. Any doubts?
Manikandan, sir, you can relay the questions to me because I'm not hearing in the background very well.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Definitely.
Any doubts anybody raises, you can please
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
relay the questions to me. Okay. All right. So that's enough about ResearchGate. Now, where to start? So propagating your research is a very important thing. Once you have a reasonable paper written, so where do you start? So the first thing I would do to create a good research track record is try conferences in which they offer book publication of their proceedings, which are indexed in Scopus, Springer, Taylor, and Francis, etc. So who's doing this? So IIM conferences, recently there was a IIM Nagpur conference. So I had presented a paper there. So that was linked to a book publication, which would be indexed in Scopus. Similarly, IEE conferences, IEEE, I know many of us are management, but IEEE conferences are actually easier to target. They do have a management component, many conferences, and they are definitely indexing in IEEE plus, which is Scopus index. So this is the easier way to create a track record. Please note the published paying and publishing in Scopus fad is long finished. All those articles are now removed from Scopus database as of the recent update. So do not be surprised if you paid and published and your article is no longer in Scopus, because Scopus has aggressively removed most of these articles. Yes. Okay. So any question on where to start and how to start? So this is the first step. Okay. So initially when you start,
one doubt is there, sir.
yes. Sir, Manikandan sir, can you relay what sir is saying?
So any difference with conceptual research?
Sir, any difference with conceptual research and empirical research?
So quite a big difference, right? So conceptual research is basically reliant on theory, mostly theory, whereas empirical research involves some kind of numbers and data, right? So there are different journals that do different things, right? Some journals say we want empirical only. Some journals say conceptual only, or some say both. So it depends. So the conceptual qualities in finance, most of them are empirical. Okay. Most of them are empirical based or review based. Whereas in HR and marketing, you do have quite a bit of conceptual papers coming up. So both are very viable. Yes, there is a publishing marketplace for both. You just have to identify the right journal. So when a journal is clearly saying only empirical work, if you send a conceptual paper, they're not going to accept, right? So that is part of the thing, right? So most of these conferences usually are wide ranging and they will accept both types of journals. So that's why I think as a researcher, when you're trying to create a track record earlier on, you should definitely target good conferences. There is an IRTM conference for which I have sent a paper in January 15th. So that's another forum. It's an IEEE conference. So that the odds of you getting a paper accepted in a conference like that are a little higher than if you were to get into one of these domain specific conferences. But hey, ultimately you are interested from a citation point of view. Scopus creates a bigger citation data. Remember, Google Scholar is just entry level. Most people look at Scopus as the citation base. Scopus citations are separate altogether. Yes. So that's what it is. Okay,
Sir,
is that, yeah.
Sir, one more thing, sir. Actually, we are actually starting a new concern in terms of students to publish in the conference or in the journal, sir.
Yes.
So what type of suggestions you can give for the students so that they can concentrate first initial basis so that they can go for publication in the later stage?
No, the first thing students need to know is how to do a literature review.
Okay.
That is the basic thing. So if students understand how to do a literature review, then the problem is solved.
Okay.
But I find most students do not like understanding this, and they are a little frustrated when we talk about asking them to read 10 articles and summarizing them, right? But this is mandatory. Scopus 2, 3 higher quartile journals, they should be reading and making at least 10 or 15 things. So in fact, I think this time in Ramaya, we have changed the integrated, we had something called an integrated live project. The ILP 1 is purely literature review only. Students have to take one article and review it. So this is what they are supposed to do. So this has to be taught early to the students. So most of the time, literature review gets covered in a 1 hour component of a business research method class or a stats class, which is not adequate, I feel, because this is where everything is won or lost, right? So literature review, students need to know how to do it and how to identify the research gap once they have done the literature review. Unfortunately, you cannot identify the research gap unless you've reviewed at least 40 articles, right? So what you could ideally do is split the literature review and give every student 10 articles, make each of them do that review, and then you combine and consolidate, and then you arrive at the research gap. Because it will be very difficult and unfair to ask students to arrive at the research gap. Only us faculty can do it. So, but they should be taught how to do a literature review. So once that is done, the rest is manageable, sir. So most good literature review based articles can easily be conceptualized and put into a paper. Yes. And for finance, the research gap is mandatory. You also save yourself the trouble of doing something that has already been done if you have a thorough literature review. So to answer your questions, yeah, that's the key. And help students target conferences, identify conferences and target them. So once you submit to one conference, many conferences come up left and right. Yes. So the overseas conferences are all little expensive. They cost anywhere from 35 to 40,000 rupees. But the IRTM conference is only costing 4,500. And the IIM conference, ISDI, IIM Nagpur conference only cost 2,400 rupees. So, and they are indexed. So indexation is paramount. So once you create a citation record, then further citations keep coming. It's very easy. The first entry is what is more important. Any questions further?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. Now, other important sources of publication. So how do you start? Once, let's assume that you have done everything properly, you've got a good journal. What are we going to start now? So one interesting place where you can go is this Elsevier. I'll show you how to search for the identifying the relevant journal once you have an article. So let us look at this. So let's stop share here. And go back to the, okay. So can you see the journal finder screen now? It's going to come. Are you seeing it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is Elsevier's journal finder. So now what it's going to ask you is, it's going to ask you to enter your paper title here and enter your paper abstract here and some keywords. So let us just put Stock market. The more you put, the better match you will get. So I'm just entering some words.
Keywords or abstract.
Yeah, something. The more, of course, if you have a published paper, if you have a paper ready, you can put bits and pieces. So now I just hit find journals. Saying no matching journals form. Usually, okay. We need some more characters here. Let's see what happens now. Or I'll just go to one of my articles and try and post. No, it's not. If you have the screen, you can do it yourself. Let me check. Let me try and see if I can put one of my abstracts here. So this was a paper I recently submitted. So I'll just copy the first few words of this and I'll put it in there. Usually you should be able to get something. Okay.
Then you have to, but paper title is the same, sir. Stock market analysis.
Okay, let's see. Let's see what it says. Okay, now you see. You're going to see some matches for my journal. Yes, so you're going to see some journals come up. International. You see? Do you see that?
Yes, sir. International Review of Financial Analysis.
Okay. Now, here's the critical thing that you want to do. Look at the acceptance rate. I want to focus on journals in which the acceptance rate is high. And look at the time to publication. Yes, 14 weeks, 3 weeks, etc. Scopus takes time to publish. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to choose something with a high acceptance rate. Okay, 24% quarterly reviews of economics and finance. Yes. Anything better than that? International Review of Economics and Finance. 27% acceptance rate. So earlier on.
It is high, so the public, that is time to take decision is high.
Yeah, that is inevitable. With Scopus, that is inevitable. But the journals with low acceptance rate will quickly publish. Why is that? Because they will only publish top-notch stuff. Okay. So the rest, immediately within 1 day, you will get a rejection. So you don't want that to happen, right? So you want a high acceptance rate. It's okay if it's 43 weeks or whatever to publish it. So remember, a lot of review happens. So Pacific Basin thing, Asia Pacific Management. No point in trying this, right? 3% acceptance rate, no chance, right? So this is what I want. So assuming that I arrive at one of these journals, right? One of the things that you want to do, maybe you want to check if this is in Scopus or whatever that is, right? So that's something that you want to check as well. So I'm coming to that in a moment. Yes?
Yes, sir.
1 minute. Okay. Same thing you can do with Web of Science as well. I'm not going to go into the link because it may take some time here. You can search in Web of Science, but the Web of Science doesn't give you the acceptance rate as clearly as Elsevier does. Okay, so that's where the problem is. Do go and check in the UGC Care list. I don't check UGC Care list much except for cloned journals. So UGC will have a very good list of cloned journals. So sometimes you may get an email saying, I will publish your article at Scopus Index in 2 weeks. Sounds too good to be true. It is, because it's a cloned journal. Most journals that send you invites saying, we are in Scopus, we will publish, you pay 2,000 or 3,000, we'll publish. Those are all mostly cloned journals. And UGC has a list. So I will just show you that. Please always, before you finalize publication, check the cloned journal list.
Sir, in this UGC Care also, there is 1 and 2 is there, no, sir? UGC Care 1 and the UGC Care 2.
Correct, correct.
Which one will be better, sir, in a public for publication? Care 1 or Care 2, sir?
Sir, I think the Care 1 list, if I'm correct, contains the Scopus journals indexed in Scopus and higher. And Care 2, I think it's less stringent list. So you can decide on which ones. Initially, when you're starting, as I said, I would not look into very high impact factor journals. So, or the ones that are tough to get into. More look at quartile 3, quartile 4 type of journals, right? So I'm coming to that in a moment. Okay. Hold on. The mouse is. Okay. Those of you who have this on your screen, if you go to this UGC Care list, you can see on the right-hand side, I'm unable to click for some reason. 1 minute. My mouse is stopped. Okay, there you go. Okay, we'll go back to that. Okay, it's not going to the link. I had put it as such. Okay. So this is UGC Care for you. Okay, so like you said, even in cloned journals, there is group 1 and group 2, right? So you can look at the latest. The latest update was April 2020. So if you look at this and you click on this cloned journal list, you can see the journals that come here. So if your journal is in this list, obviously it doesn't count, right? So always check when you receive mails from these guys, any of these guys in this. It's a big list actually. So quickly check this list to see whether the journal is in this one. So if they're in this, then it is best avoided. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Then once you have decided that based on the acceptance rate, you are going to decide on a particular journal, what is the next thing you want to do? You want to look at the Scopus engine and see where your article is. Okay. So what you could do is, let's say you arrived at a journal for Elsevier, and so look at the Scopus search engine. It's called Schimago GR. Okay. I'll just show it to you in a moment. So let's say you Schimago Journal of Business Economics Management. Let's say I'm searching this. I've arrived at Journal of Business Economics Management. So I put this. So Skimago JR is a Scopus search engine. And I'll click on this. So it tells you what kind of journal this is. H-index, look at the H-index. H-index, who is publishing this? It's a foreign university. Look at the H-index. H-index is very high. Why is this important? Ideally, when you submit to a journal, you should match your index, H-index, with the H-index of the journal. This H-index is 37. My H-index is 3. So if I am trying to publish here, it's going to be difficult for me, right? Because I have not reached that level of research. Sometimes it can work for you, but you are typically okay submitting articles close to where your H-index is, right? Where do I find the H-index? In Google Scholar. So the first thing to do is to create a Google Scholar profile. You can also look at Scopus and the citation metrics there. That will also be given here. Scopus metrics will also be given here. So if you go down, it tells you what all this is. I think an Eastern European journal, Czech Republic maybe. It tells you what all citation metrics. And then if you go down, you see this. On the left-hand side, it tells you what is the domain, business management and accounting, and SJR is a Scopus site score. Okay, it's like it's a similar metric to H-index, but it's a site score. So the higher the site score, the better. And it is saying quartile 2. Yes. So this is Scopus quartile 2 index. So once you arrive at a journal, you can always check in the Scopus citation engine as to what level of sophistication it has. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? Any questions?
No, sir. No, sir.
So this is something that you should do to ensure that you are on right track. So the problem is some of us, we want to go into Scopus quartile 1 straight away, right? That would be great for us. But unfortunately, it won't work because our level of sophistication is not high as these journals.
End of the paper.
In the beginning, it's 3,000 words.
Yes, sir. Any questions, sir? Manikandan, sir?
No, sir. No, sir. Actually, one sir just now joined. Actually, he asked me for length of the paper. Yes,
Yes.
this is the first slide, sir. That's why we told him, sir. 3,000 to 4,000 words it should be like that.
Okay. Now, propagation strategies then. Summarizing everything up, identify good conferences, identify the appropriate journal through your journal finders. Yes. Avoid predatory and clone journals. So when you're paying money, it is okay to publish in open access journals. But even open access journals are charging very high fees. The good open access journals that are indexed in Scopus, they are charging very high fees. So avoid pretty much predatory and clone journals. Yes, anybody who's promising you Scopus indexation in 2 weeks is lying, tracked out. Doesn't happen like that. If it were working, we would all be Scopus quartile 1 by now, right? Doesn't work like that. Do publish your abstracts as working papers. Yes, why is that important? Abstracts themselves can get citations, number 1. Number 2, it is motivation for you to complete. When you put something as an abstract, sometimes it stays as an abstract on our desktop forever, right? So when you put it on SSRN, it is a motivation for you to complete. And then distribute your published work on ResearchGate, Academia.edu, and other such platforms. So with that, I've pretty much completed all the propagation strategies. I think I've covered most of the angles. And then finally, I just want to leave you with some useful referencing software. One is Mendeley Desktop and the other is Zotero. These two can help you with your referencing. Yes. And pretty much I've completed, I believe. So if you have questions, I would take them now.
Sir, one question is there, sir.
Please.
Sir, I just got that article
Ma'am, I'm not hearing you. You can relay it through Manikandan, sir.
Louder, louder.
Sir, now it's okay?
Now
There's
can
some-
you hear? Now
there's
you
some-
can-
I can hear you, sir, but ma'am, some echo is there.
I will come here now. Sir, actually, what I did, I just typed my one article and
Yes.
then I find that it is there in the research bit,
Okay.
but it is not visible in Google Scholar. So what I have to do for that?
Ma'am, typically, is your Google Scholar active? That is the question.
So just I registered myself. Now they are showing a profile like you. 10
Okay.
articles already they have taken.
Okay.
But there are few very latest article which is not visible on Google Scholar profile, my profile may. So I just want to search that whether it is registered anywhere or not. So
Ma'am,
it
if you put it on ResearchGate, give it 2 weeks, it will come there.
no, I have not done anything, neither on ResearchGate nor on Google Scholar.
Okay.
Even the articles which is taken
Yeah.
was not set by me. I don't know how it comes.
So you have to manually go in there and if those articles are not yours, you have to delete them.
No, it is my only.
Okay, fantastic. Then no issues, ma'am. Google Scholar is the advantage is it is an auto engine, right? It will pick up all research done by you and put it there.
So why not showing in my profile?
But you are not seeing what?
Sir, actually, ma'am's paper is in ResearchGate, sir.
Okay.
Sir. It is not been highlighted in Google Scholar. That is
Okay.
what ma'am is asking, how we can connect that with the Google Scholar.
Ma'am, when did you put it on ResearchGate?
It was already there, ma'am. It was already there in the research.
No, unless you put it on ResearchGate, it will not come into Google Scholar. If somebody else has shared, it won't come.
Okay, so how to upload it, sir, or put
Sir,
it in the Google Scholar?
Sir, even
Sorry,
the
this
10 articles, what they are showing in my profile of Google Scholar,
Yes.
that also I have not set. That also I have not uploaded
Yes.
anywhere.
Okay. Okay. So that's the thing, ma'am. So
That
if
is
you're
my articles. Why to delete?
okay, so if your journal publisher has already put the articles online, it will
Okay.
come on Google Scholar
Automatically.
automatically. However, if your journal publisher does not put it on Google Scholar, you have to manually add it.
And how to do that?
Okay, you can do that. I'll show you in a minute.
Yeah.
So here, when you go to so here, when I say Google Scholar, this comes as a thing. So if you do here, you see the title there, ma'am?
Ma'am, sir, we are seeing only the presentation slide.
Oh, sorry. I have to share screen one more time. You see title now?
Yes.
Yes. Do you see my Google Scholar screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you see the title there?
Yes.
Just click the plus there, ma'am.
Okay.
So if you click plus, add articles or add article manually.
Okay.
Do you see that?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
So when I click that, it is asking for all those things. So you should populate that manually.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am?
Yes.
So if it is a journal, conference, chapters, everything is there. So list on the place of list, we can do it.
Yes. Even patents can be added.
Okay.
If you have a patent, you can add it. If you have a thesis, you
Okay.
can add it.
Mhm.
Book, you can add it. So is that clear now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, one more doubt, sir. You're talking about Scopus, sir. We are also trying for that, and it takes longer time to publish.
Yeah.
But there are some Scopus journals are there. We have been spoke to them, and they are telling us if you want to publish this article, it will take at least 6 to 8 months time, but you have to pay some amount for that. So whether we can trust that type of journal, sir, because they are taking at least 4 to 5 months time for reviewing the article. But they after the end of the thing, when they are coming to the publication, they are asking us, you pay this much of amount for publication because we have to maintain the record in the database, so you have to give some publication fee for
Sir,
that.
so actually, sir, Scopus Publishing is a money-making business.
True.
But many of those publishers are publishing in fake journals, which are not really Scopus indexed. So you have to check. Remember, I showed you the Scopus engine, Schema
yes,
or JR. You have to check whether it is that same journal. And also remember, that same journal can be cloned also. So you have to check in the UGC Care list. So this headache you avoid by not paying anybody anything. You take your time, you publish. Yes, a lot of academic institutions are putting pressure on us to say publish in quartile for incentive and all that. But avoid taking any such shortcuts, because ultimately it's going to backfire.
Randy sir, actually, I have published 3 Scopus journal in Scopus.
Yes, sir.
2017, I have first Scopus published while I'm doing my research.
Yes.
It is an IJPA journal. Still now, luckily, it is there in that. It is not removed.
Yes.
Okay. So after that, 2 journals which we have published, it is there right now. But while I sending the acceptance, they are genuinely they are asking the letter that the journal is accepted and you have to pay the publishing charge.
Yes.
Whether it is that one is genuine or not, but still now it is there.
Okay, so this is why I say there's a difference between open access publishing. Your journal may be open access Scopus, for which you have to pay a publication charge.
Okay.
That is perfectly fine. No issues with that. However, there are some journals which are fake, which are just masquerading as Scopus journals. So these you have to be careful about.
Okay. So nowadays it is every month they are reviewing the Scopus.
Yes.
Right. And the amount what we have for the publication fee is also very huge. They are asking for 35,000, 40,000, depending upon the citation rate they are asking for.
So if you look at Sage Open Access,
okay,
Sage, right? They are a top publisher. $800 is what they charge.
Okay.
That's what you are telling. Same thing.
Yes, sir.
So I don't know. See, I have never gone that route because I'm very worried that somewhere down the line that all these journals, even if you pay 30,000, there's no guarantee. Scopus may say this is unethical and just remove them. So I have taken the slow and steady approach. It is taking long time, I think, but eventually it pays off, sir. I think it's much better for you to pay 4,500, send a journal to a conference Scopus index paper, get it in Scopus. Once you create a Scopus footprint, then it becomes very easy to publish further.
Okay. So that is a better route. So
Yeah.
the conference and afterwards that will be comes in the conference proceeding and it can be indexed in Scopus.
Yeah. So here's another lesson also that I have learned over the years is do not send articles to any conference. Make sure the conference proceedings are indexed in Scopus. Otherwise, don't send. It's a waste of time. Any further questions or any other topic?
One more thing is I have observed some Scopus journals. Every month I'm checking it. The full they use all the journals and everything, and something is included, something is removed, as you said.
Yes.
Happening for month. Every month it's happening nowadays. Every month. So how to trust the journal that because it is volatile. Practice says it is volatile.
Yes.
So it is coming and going. How to trust any
Sir, that's why I suggest you stick with a reputed publisher. So for example, I like Inderscience a lot. So Inderscience will take a lot of time to review your work, but they will give you a very fair assessment. Okay. So they will give you quite a few. One of my papers I submitted March, still in review in Inderscience. Okay. So, but they work with you every step of the way, and it's a good learning experience. So, so you stick with a reputed publisher, Inderscience, Elsevier, Sage, Springer, Taylor, and Francis. Nothing outside this list, sir. So if you are in this list, if you're in this list, then you are safe.
Okay, fine, sir, fine.
You don't have to worry about checking every month or so, like you were saying. The
And one
smaller
more-
guys are the dodgy ones.
Okay.
Sometimes, not all the time, sometimes.
Yes, sir. I have an experience. I
Yes,
have, paper I have applied. I mean, I have sent to the journal. The journal has taken like that standard journal. I forget his name. It was very old, 2 years back. And he took 8 months and the first process and second process. And the third process they have rejected.
Yes.
Whether I can able to send more than one journal or I can stick on with only one journal. And if suppose it is happening after 8 months, what to do?
So here's what I do. I will make 2 different versions of the same paper.
Okay.
In different language with slightly different objectives, different title, everything. Right. Right. And then I will send one. Don't send the exact same thing to 2 journals. Then you will get blacklisted. If the journals, both of them accept, right? Both of them accept. They have cross-talking databases. They will know same paper you have sent 2 places, both will reject.
Yes, yes.
This is a publisher's game, which you have to understand. They are fully connected, networked.
Yes, yes.
So you have 2 different versions of your paper, which are looking different. Yes. So the plagiarism similarity index and all you check with Turnitin, etc. And you find that they are not matching each other. You send, sir. No issue.
Got it, sir. Got it.
Yes,
Sir. Right,
yes.
got it. Got it.
Yeah, just to be safe.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Sir, one more thing. Actually, nowadays, every papers have been printed mostly in online only. That
Yes.
is ISSN number.
Yes.
So ISBN, that is a published article in terms of hard copy. Which one is the more safer, sir, in publication and Scopus?
So please note, sir, initially when you go for conference publications,
Hmm.
those are ISBN only,
Okay.
but they are still indexed in Scopus. So ultimately, that's what matters. Yes, both are fine as long as they are indexed. Ultimately, you want ISSN Scopus indexed, but you cannot, unfortunately, go straight away into ISSN Scopus index because it takes time as an early stage researcher. Once you are in Scopus, you can target the regular journals for ISSN Scopus based publication. But right now, I am definitely focusing more on the conference aspect.
Okay.
These conferences will sometimes do one ISBN book and then take the same article and publish it in a journal. That is fine. That is okay. You can have a book publishing and article publishing for the same article. When the conference and the publishers agree, they will say, with permission, I am taking permission to publish this article from the proceedings of the conference as a main article.
We'll give the undertaking for them.
Correct, correct.
Yes, sir.
Even those people are asking charges. They are charging us.
Ah.
Even that's what actually we tried for student conference and publication. We
Yes.
tried and some reputed institute only. And what they are asking is the conference, they are charging 3,000 rupees as usual.
Yes.
And they are ready to publish in the Scopus very well. They are saying that it is indexed, it will be indexed in the Scopus. They are giving the assurance. For that also they are asking
Additional amount.
Additional amount, yes, sir.
That's what.
So I think this problem can be overcome if you tie up with a publisher like Springer
Yes.
to begin with. So they will take a big amount, like 5 lakhs upfront, and then they will do everything. They will not charge you for additional amount. This is the advantage of tying up with a bigger publisher because you know you are going to be guaranteed. The smaller publishers will simply try and say something, and then later on it becomes a money-making business for them. Okay, I will put you in quartile 2, you pay 20,000. Like that, they will say. Now, if Springer says that, I'm believing them. When a smaller publisher tells me that, I don't believe it. Because who is to say that they have any tie-up with anybody to begin? Right? They may say, but how do you verify it?
Very good.
Yeah. And I'm told that SSRN is also indexing some of their prints in Scopus now. So that's the latest trend. So Elsevier is a very good platform to be associated with. So But Inderscience is my favorite because there you have a realistic chance as a researcher to publish good quality research in good forums.
So I have account in ORCID, what you said, and this one research scholar gate as well. I have not created any SSR.
SSRN.
Yeah.
Yes, it is required actually. These all interconnected or something. If I'm missing that one, it is not interconnected or something like.
Sir, SSRN is for very early stage researchers who are not able to publish frequently, but who are starting out. So you can get your working paper. So you're doing a paper, but you'll just put an abstract there. So, you know, abstracts can also get citations, right? So later on you update the full paper.
First level is
SSRN.
Yes. SSRN, yeah.
So even research gate, my papers are listed. What else I need to do progress? I'm not getting it, sir, actually. But what exactly that support to us actually? I have done it, but it is listing now. But what kind of benefit I can get it? I can extract it from this scholar.
So okay, ResearchGate creates a separate citation metric than Google Scholar.
Okay.
Google Scholar citations are different from ResearchGate citations. So some people say that Google Scholar is taking all journals and some journals should not be considered, which is true. So Scopus and ResearchGate's citation metrics are a bit more stringent on that. So you can every now and then log in and see how many citations you have on ResearchGate. So that is a useful thing. And ultimately, Scopus citations are what matters from your accreditation, NIRF ranking and all that. So that you will eventually create. So once you've published in Scopus, you have an author ID there. So that you can link onto your ORCID ID, etc. And that will be a bit more comprehensive.
Publishing a paper in research scholar is comparatively good with Scopus, right, sir?
Publishing paper where, sir?
Google Scholar.
Sir, Google Scholar is only a distribution platform.
Okay.
So any other major forum, you publish an article in any journal which is linked to Google Scholar, it will come there. So even college journals which are linked to Google Scholar, it will come there. So the question is that Google Scholar itself is not like a journal platform.
Okay.
It's just an interface for article sharing that comes from several journals. So it's an aggregation of your research. However, Academia.edu allows you to publish 1 or 2 page articles. It's a new thing they have started.
So we can recommend SSRN and Academia.edu for our students, sir. Initially, for any small publication, we can recommend to them.
Of course, sir. Yes. In fact, I didn't even touch on this.
Okay.
There is another platform called GRIN, GRIN.
GRIN, sir?
Yeah, GRIN, where you can publish empirical studies, topics, and anything like that as a book. It's a German publisher. So, so anything that doesn't go into articles, they are also very stringent on the plagiarism aspect, but they publish your article as a book.
Okay.
And it comes on major platforms as Amazon. So if you look, so this happens like this. So you can actually earn royalties from it.
Okay.
Yeah, it won't be much, but so this GRIN will distribute book-like format to Amazon and all those things.
Okay.
So I have published, as you can see with my students, some material on GRIN, which has come into Amazon. So this is what you do with, this also links to Google Scholar. This also links to Google Scholar, but you only send articles to GRIN, which you can't publish anywhere else.
Okay.
But you want to send it, you still want to publish, you can go here and may write it as a book. It's ISBN. It also links to Google Scholar. I didn't want to touch this because this is something that you don't do with all your top-notch work, but anything that doesn't get published in journals, you can do this.
Okay, for that, anything we have to pay, sir, for the GRIN?
No, it's free.
Just upload it. Upload our articles, automatically will be done.
Yeah, the only thing is they're very strict about, so if you see in our empirical studies, our students do not do referencing properly, right? All images should be referenced. Pictures and all they take and put, reference plagiarism should be less than 20%, like that. Guidelines are a bit strict because they are putting everything on Amazon, etc. I published, you can publish your thesis as a book on GRIN.
Okay.
So I have done that, you can see. So this last one, which is listed, determinants of profitability of listed commercial banks in India, was my doctorate in Bharatiyar.
So once we publish in once we upload the things in the GRIN, automatically we can make it in Amazon. Huh? We can send it to Amazon.
You don't send anything, GRIN does it
GRIN
automatically.
automatically do it. Okay.
Yeah.
Now all the thesis and all is uploaded by the Shuddhanda, right, sir?
Yeah.
So obviously all the universities are connected, and what is the point of putting in this, sir?
Sir, I took permission from Bharatiyar University to publish here. So I asked them if I can publish it on my own. They said, go ahead.
They'll not do it.
So they said, go ahead. So the thing is, I'm going to get some royalties from this if it sells.
So they will not disclose that one. Their line. So they will stop it because they.
It's better you take permission from the university in writing, saying that they don't have any issue in you publishing.
But they'll give it in writing, sir.
Yeah, they give. Yeah.
They'll give. Because some universities they'll give, some universities they won't give also.
Yeah, they give.
No, sir is asking some more.
So actually, you are also publishing in this. They will not. Whether they will publish or not in their Shuddhanda.
So they may or may not. But sir, I am just not worried about it, frankly.
Oh, that's what.
Right. I have taken permission because I want to publish this from my end.
Okay. No. See, here it's a payable. There is okay. No. I'm asking if they will stop it. They will.
So what I did was my master's thesis at Cardiff Metropolitan. That also I published here, but I published that 5 years afterwards. So you can publish your thesis which you did in 1990 now. That's the beauty of GRIN.
So after the completion of our PhD, 5 years, we can go for publication. Normally.
Yes, sir. Why GRIN is good is most of the empirical studies sometimes you can't publish anywhere. You may agree with me on this statement. 1 or 2 you can publish, rest all, but you can still publish them as a book here if it is properly referenced. And it will still create some track record for the institute. So, I mean, all work is useful, right? Nothing is useless. So when we are propagating research, we have some assumptions. We say that this paper is good that way, but you should not approach it that way. You put the highest paper in Scopus, you put the next level in UGC, you put the third level in something like GRIN. That way, you put everything somewhere. And when the rating agencies come, you are showing them, look, conversion rate is high. So that's what I think is useful.
Sir, in ResearchGate,
Yeah.
actually, I'm getting the message. Whatever the similar research I have done, it is listed in my data.
Yeah.
Anybody else, they are doing the research, are publishing the paper, I'm getting the message.
Yes, that's a big thing from research.
Yes, exactly. ResearchGate is useful.
Yes.
Every time I get it like, so this gentleman is published relevant to your title or something, I'm getting it. So somehow it is supporting to my further research and all.
Yes,
Somehow. And what about the research scholar? Research scholar, I'm not only that my research is listed out. The papers
Yes.
are listed out.
yes.
Apart from that, it is not helpful to any
Sir,
further research.
Sir, it is only a search engine kind of a thing, right? So it is not a interactive platform.
I can able to search some papers and everything.
Correct. That's all you can do. And in fact, sometimes you may not be able to get all the papers. You may only be able to get the abstracts. Because Elsevier is charging money, right? Why would they let that paper go for free on Google?
Correct. Okay, sir. Now I got it. Now I got it.
Any from student side, also you can ask regarding publication. No questions from student side.
Further, your support is required for everyone, sir. Through mail, because it is not one day work, it is a lifetime work. I know, so we have to do it every day, every moment. Research paper publication, and every time new things are coming up, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So getting idea is because today we are working something and tomorrow is different. So the collective
Yes, sir.
knowledge and it is required, sir. So the support is required.
I agree 1000% with you, sir. And I think the problem with us is we take so much time to write research that by the time we finish, that research is outdated only.
Outdated only.
Exactly. And one more thing, sir, parallelly, what you're saying is 1000 times correct. And one more thing is the paper writing is itself, it is difficult. And
Yes.
where we need to publish it's another very difficult, and moreover procedure is plenty, sir.
Sir, I can tell you after 11 years of publishing, I haven't figured it out. I have no clue, actually, to be honest with you. But I think I'm slightly better off than 10 years ago.
Correct.
So these platforms I did not know 10 years ago. So
Doctor used to say, I'm not working, I'm practicing.
yes.
So we are practicing, sir, every day.
Yes. And as you know, when you review for all these top journals like Sage and Emerald, you get better ideas, actually. So definitely that has helped me. I have reviewed for a few journals, but I've never been able to publish in them. But now, based on the level of difficulty, I'm saying, okay, I know this is what it takes to publish in that journal. So at least that is a benchmark that I strive to reach. So that's how it is, sir. But we can't, some luck is also required. So sometimes these editors, actually the publication business is not as difficult as you think. If you know the editors of these journals who can push your articles, then it becomes very, very easy. That's what the IIM people do. They are on editorial boards of several journals. So they review somebody else reviews theirs, and there's a network there, and they're very familiar, right? So this is how basically you create a research track record, right?
Yes, sir. Luckily, I got my Scopus paper is clear. So that still it is there.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So thank you, Professor Dr. Rajvi, sir. So we had a good interaction regarding how to propagate research in various ways, so that it will be helpful how to cite and what type of citation is there in all the websites, how to go at. So we have been discussed on ORCID. So ORCID is a very good platform where we can publish, and as soon as we can go through how the citations are going on, and other things like Google Scholar, and basic for especially for students. If they want to do some research paper, either in a 2 or 3 pages, they can do it in SSRN and as well as Academia.edu, and as well as the research care and where to start. So what are the ways we can propagate the research in what are the areas? So you have shared a lot of links, and you also quoted out what are the cloned articles are there, so that we do not publish that and we'll lose the form of money. So all this information what you have been shared with us, it is very much useful to us, sir. We really thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. Suman Perfectman to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Professor Manikandan. Thank you, Rajveer sir. It was an excellent session. In fact, writing a research paper is the essentiality of our profession. Creating the visibility and getting feedback is again an important parameter of our work, our research. We have not only to focus on writing quality publications. Our focus should be on propagating our research as much as possible. In this era of technology, we have to prove ourselves on the various technological platform. So thank you so much, sir, for your guidance that how we can showcase our work and how to register on various place. I'm sure that it is going to create a kind of visibility. And yes, in the accreditation process or into ranking also, we can use these platforms. Thank you so much, Rajveer sir. I want to convey my thanks to Professor Muralidharan sir, because he is the person behind this all, behind connecting with you. Thank you, sir, for this today's session. Thank you, Mani sir, for organizing this excellent session under the Learning Forum. Thank you to all my teachers to be here. And I think we learn a lot in today's this session. So it is a very, very useful session for all of us. Thank you so much, Rajveer sir. And as Dr. Shakti already mentioned, that we keep on bothering you whenever we want in many places, because writing a paper is one challenge, but publication in a good journal, that to this cloned world, just we came to know that how can we come into the tap of some journals which actually not that. So thank you so much for all this guidance. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all of you. Thank you, Rajveer sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. I intend to share this video on my YouTube channel. So once I do that, I will
Wonderful.
share
So
it.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mani sir will forward it to you.
Yes, yes.
Sir, could you share that PPTs to us, sir?
Yeah, why not?
Links and all, that will be helpful for us, sir.
Yeah, I'll send you, sir. No issues.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
And as far as the students are concerned, many of you joined a bit late. But then there is a lot of work that you all do during your course curriculum itself. It may be assignments, it may be small projects that you do, or it may be exercises that some of your teachers might give, including paper review of papers, publication, and the lot. Probably you'll miss the initial part of the presentation today, but it has a lot of takeaways for you all. The reason is that once you put it on the public domain and it gets registered and cited or recognized, it automatically comes onto your biodata. So it will have value for you as well. It is not as though it has no relevance to you. All of you have mentors, all of you have faculty guides. Okay, use those resources to make sure that you too go ahead with publishing your conceptual or empirical or experimental work that you tend to do during the 2-year stay here. Okay? And I am very, very sure all the teachers will also help you, handhold you and guide you. And Rajveer sir, lots of takeaways for everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Rajveer sir.
Thank you to all of you faculty members, students. Thank you. Mani sir, Shakti sir, Suman madam, Sanjeev sir, Ravi sir, Anuradha ma'am, Sapna ma'am, all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all of you.
Session, sir.
And have a nice weekend too, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, students. I can take attendance from the database. Don't worry. Thank you so much. Second semester, we will have some review of literature what sirs told, no, our Randy sir. So already last semester we had, sir, the same way. So one research paper and they have to go through the research paper and they have to present it. Same point, we will do it.
Some good work is actually done, sir, during that process.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We will continue that, sir.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I'm leaving now, sir. Thank
Okay,
you.
sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Take care.